Welcome, true crime enthusiasts, to the True Crime Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, a private investigator with years of experience unearthing the secrets behind the darkest cases. On this channel, we delve deep into the mysteries that haunt our world, examining every clue and uncovering the hidden truths behind real-life crimes. If you're passionate about justice and intrigued by the unknown, hit that subscribe button and join our community. And don't forget, drop your thoughts and comments below. Your insights could be the key to cracking our next case. Now, let's dive in. The Unraveling of Truth. In the golden light of California's rolling hills, Pastor David Jackson was a beacon of hope, a respected spiritual leader who had devoted his life to serving his community. Every Sunday, the small yet devoted congregation gathered in the centuries-old stone chapel nestled amid the serene vineyards, hanging on to every word of his stirring sermons. David's gentle demeanor and unwavering faith had forged deep bonds within the community, and his home was filled with laughter and warmth, thanks to the 4 children he lovingly raised as his own. Yet beneath the comforting rhythms of his daily life, an undercurrent of secrets simmered silently. Over the years, murmurs had emerged, whispers that something was amiss in the seemingly idyllic family picture. It was during a routine visit to a discreet genetic testing center, recommended by a concerned friend, that the unthinkable happened. The results, delivered in a plain envelope on a rainy afternoon, shattered the carefully constructed narrative of David's life. The DNA test revealed that the children he had cherished and nurtured were not his biological heirs. Instead, they belonged to another man, a rival pastor from a neighboring congregation, Reverend Michael Stewart. The revelation cut deep, leaving behind a wound that festered with betrayal and disbelief. David was overwhelmed by a torrent of emotions. The trust he had placed in the sanctity of his family and the bonds of brotherhood within the church felt irreparably violated. His mind raced with memories of gentle bedtime stories, shared prayers, and the unspoken promise of unconditional love. Each recollection now stung with the harsh realization that the foundation of his family was built on a deception he never imagined. That rainy afternoon in California became a turning point, a moment when the gentle pastor began to see the world in a darker light. Descent into turmoil. As the days turned into sleepless nights, the weight of betrayal pressed heavily on Pastor David Jackson's soul. The sunlit mornings in California, once a symbol of new beginnings, now brought with them an unbearable reminder of the duplicity that had upended his life. In the quiet solitude of his study, where walls lined with ancient hymnals bore silent witness to decades of faith, David's heart pounded with a mix of sorrow and seething anger. The vibrant hymns that once echoed through the chapel now seemed like a cruel irony in the face of his personal agony. Friends and fellow clergy tried to offer solace, urging him to seek forgiveness, to turn away from the path of retribution. But the betrayal was too raw, too deeply embedded. Every comforting word felt like a hollow echo in the vast emptiness that now defined his inner world. The thought that Reverend Michael Stewart, a man David had once considered a friend and confidant, could commit such a treachery ignited a fire of resentment that spread through every fiber of his being. In the solitude of his nightly walks along the moonlit California coastline, David wrestled with the duality of his identity. The gentle pastor, known for his compassionate sermons and kind spirit, was now locked in a relentless internal battle with the seething desire for revenge. Memories of laughter with the children turned bitter, their innocent smiles now reminders of the deceit that had tainted their origins. As days passed, the internal struggle evolved into a dangerous obsession with retribution. David began meticulously planning how to confront the man who had shattered his trust, the man who had unwittingly become the catalyst for his transformation from a beloved community leader into a figure haunted by vengeance. The very institutions that once provided him solace now felt like prisons of judgment. The sanctity of the church, the warmth of communal gatherings, and the gentle embrace of family were all replaced by the cold, unyielding grip of betrayal. David's internal turmoil escalated until the line between right and wrong blurred, leaving him teetering on the edge of an abyss from which there might be no return. The inevitable reckoning. On a stormy California night, when the winds howled through the ancient redwoods and the rain blurred the boundary between earth and sky, Pastor David Jackson's inner demons finally found their voice. The peaceful facade of his life gave way to a dark, turbulent tempest of rage and sorrow. In a state of overwhelming anguish, he resolved to confront Reverend Michael Stewart, an act that would forever alter the course of both their lives and send shockwaves throughout the community. Under the cloak of darkness, David made his way to the secluded chapel where Michael had been performing an impassioned sermon that evening. The rain lashed against the stained glass windows, each droplet reflecting fragments of shattered trust and despair. As the congregation dispersed in confusion and fear, David slipped away, his heart pounding like a war drum. The confrontation was raw and immediate, a collision of two souls whose paths had diverged in the wake of betrayal. Words of bitter accusation were exchanged, echoing through the empty halls like the tolling of a funeral bell. In the moment that blurred the line between justice and madness, the confrontation spiraled into violence. Fueled by a cocktail of grief, anger, and disillusionment, David committed an act so heinous that the echoes of that night would haunt the corridors of the church and the hearts of the community for years to come. The aftermath was a tableau of chaos, a shattered vase of broken dreams scattered on the cold stone floor, the anguished cries of a community in mourning, and the relentless wail of sirens piercing the Californian night. In the days that followed, California was gripped by an unsettling mixture of grief, shock, and the slow, painful process of reckoning with the truth. Law enforcement arrived to piece together the fragments of a story that was as complex as it was tragic. Testimonies poured in from distraught congregants, each account a mirror reflecting the myriad emotions that had culminated in that fateful night. In the sterile glare of the courtroom, Pastor David Jackson stood before a judge, his eyes haunted by the ghosts of his past, a man torn between the sanctity of his former life and the irreversible act of violence that had ensnared him. As the community struggled to comprehend the magnitude of the betrayal and its dire consequences, a somber realization settled over California. The tragedy of Pastor David Jackson was not merely the story of a man who had lost his way. It was a cautionary tale of how hidden secrets, when left unspoken and unresolved, could dismantle lives and shatter the very fabric of trust. In the end, the echoes of that stormy night became a lasting testament to the perilous interplay of love, deceit, and the desperate pursuit of retribution, a legacy that would forever cast a shadow over the sunlit hills of California. Hello and welcome back to True Crime Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, a private investigator, committed to uncovering the hidden truths behind the world's most perplexing cases. Today, we're journeying to Nigeria to investigate a series of armed robbery incidents that have rattled local communities. In our discussion, we focus on a specific criminal faction linked to individuals of Yoruba descent. It's crucial to stress that these events involve a narrow group and do not represent the rich culture or values of the Yoruba people as a whole. In this video, we'll break down the details of these daring robberies, examine the motives behind the crimes, and discuss the broader social and economic factors at play. Your thoughts and insights are important to us. Please drop your comments below. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to join our community of truth seekers. Let's dive into the investigation and uncover what really happened.